Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to a brand new video here today, and I am very excited for this one, because we've got an F1 2021 mod gameplay video today at the Bahrain Grand Prix, in lieu of obviously pre-season testing being at Bahrain later this week. I thought we'd do a pre-season race, and we're going to be doing it in the hands of Sebastian Vettel in his new, very rather lovely mint green Aston Martin outfit, and very much like in real life, the car looks really sweet out on track. It's one thing to have it in the studio, but out on track with that natural lighting really looks cool. And obviously at Bahrain during pre-season they'll be doing those testing times in the day, so I thought we're gonna do the race at daytime to have a bit of a difference also, because we recently just did a Bahrain Grand Prix career mode race, but obviously that's gonna be very different. You know, the maxed out cars are a very different kettle to fish to the base level, but we've got the same 2021 mod we used for the Ricardo video we did a few weeks ago, so a link will be in the description below. But since then it's obviously been updated with most of the liveries that we've now been shown for the 2021 season, apart from, I believe the Alpine is not included in this update version of the mod. And I've also actually mashed it together with a different 2021 mod, which I'll also link in the description, to get the proper overalls for the Aston Martin team. So not quite finished yet and right there, but obviously near enough, and some finishing touches, but it's still a fantastic mod. The liveries done so far for it are exquisite. They really look sick, and obviously are based on the F1 2020 game, the lighting system and whatnot. We know how pretty this game can look. But here we are then at Bahrain. We're going to do a 25% race, so it's going to be a one stop from the soft to the medium tires, so a little bit less complicated than we maybe just did in our My Team career mode. But like I said, a bit of a different spectacle as well, as we'll be doing it kind of just after midday into afternoon, kind of around the rough same time they might be ending pre-season testing, when we get to it later on this week. But let's just dive straight into it then, as we get to 5 red lights then for this effective pre-season race at the Bahrain GP circuit. 5 red lights are out, and we're underway, and you can see we're at the wheel of this Aston Martin car in the hands of Sebastian Vettel. Alonso ahead of us, still repping the testing livery, or winter livery rather, for the Alpine team. He's kind of caught up a little bit behind Ocon, so we're actually able to try to go around the outside. I'm having to counter steer a little bit to give Ocon some room, because I wasn't too sure where his front wing was going to end up in turn 1. Didn't want a collision to kick things off basically. But in the background, some very aggressive moves going on there with Lando Norris overtaking Giovinazzi in the Alfa Romeo. We're caught up still then behind Ocon, but right up his gearbox. I feel like sooner rather than later we should be able to make a move. But yeah, as I alluded to, these cars are very different to what I'm used to now with my team, so it is actually a learning curve as we do this race, getting reused to the kind of lower speeds here. And I've said this before in the Ricardo video, it almost feels like we're driving F2 cars, because compared to what we drive with the maxed out cars, it really does feel like that much slower. But we have a lovely switch back on Ocon, and absolutely did him at that left-hander, and we're up into P10 then. We've got Ricardo up the road. You'll notice that his full name's not on the heads-up display, because that's actually one thing, the way we do the names, using a cheat engine table to get the names into the game, because there's no more language files like there used to be when we used to mod the game and used to make these kind of season mods for future career modes. For some reason, you can't go any more letters basically than that, so Ricardo's just going to be named Rick on the heads-up display, but it doesn't matter too much. You get the gist of it. Is Ricardo up the road in his new McLaren car, and we actually get a great exit off the last corner. No DRS yet, just pure slipstream, and obviously we have to be careful with the ERS. I can't abuse the ERS as much as I'd like to, because the ERS doesn't harvest as quickly with these cars as it does at the moment in our My Team career. And Stroll has some difficulty overtaking Schumacher, that is, who's flying high in the Haas there, as we go and overtake Ricardo into turn 2. Got the exit, got the acceleration, but yeah, Stroll up the road, a little bit hindered by the Haas. Mick Schumacher doing a fantastic job, whereas his teammate is way down the order. He's in the points paying position, so I think the grid was a bit kind to him, and he was on the starting grid a little bit quite high up. But let's see now if we can try and get Stroll. He locks up a bit. Can we try and get past our teammate and then get on to, well, the 2 Ferraris were also very lucky with where they were on the starting grid, so I imagine we should have the pace to close up to them, because they're not really looking to challenge. I think that's Sergio Perez in the first of the 2 Red Bull cars then. As you can see up the road, it's actually Verstappen in the middle of the 2 Mercedes cars that have that obviously very strikingly different livery with AMG everywhere. But here we are now to the inside of Stroll, nice and easy on the throttle as we go around the outside, wanting to give him the room as well, and being very wary that the car can snap on me now with a bit of lack of downforce to what I'm used to. But here we go then on Schumacher, then Vettel v Schumacher. That's going to be quite interesting, I think, this year. here to see if Vettel's going to be, you know, he said in interviews that he's very happy to be a bit of a mentor to Schumacher, very much like, obviously Michael Schumacher was to him when those two were together. And obviously he entered Formula 1, Sebastian. Very, very lovely dynamic between those two, I must say. But yeah, we overtake Mick, and he's now being hounded a bit by Lance Stroll. And can he make a move with DRS? Not quite, but also you can see there in the background, also Ricciardo getting in it. And it looks like Stroll is actually going backwards in this race then, as Ricciardo makes a really nice move around the outside. They're side by side now as we go down through the right and then the left. And Ricciardo on the outside. Can Stroll get the elbows out? Big lock up again. He's really struggling, the Canadian is, in that hairpin corner. And it looks like Ricciardo will keep his foot in, and they'll still be going at it into the next left. And Ricciardo, he's got the better line, I think. But let's see on the exit, Mercedes v Mercedes power now. Obviously with the McLaren moving to the Mercedes PU. But Ricciardo, I think he's got that, both with DRS, but he's on the inside. Surely that's going to be him booked in. Yes, it will. And Stroll may be susceptible now to Fernando Alonso there in the Alpine car. And also Lando Norris not too far behind. Let's just take a look then at the other cars. Obviously the Alfa Romeo has got that new mostly white with the red side pod livery. The Haas, it's sort of like what we see in real life, but we can't quite get all the Russian flags all over it, just due to the way the Haas car is moddable, basically, I think, as a technicality. But we'll see how that progresses, maybe through future updates with the mod, maybe. But let's see, on to lap number 3. Now, this is interesting. Vettel v Leclerc. This is going to be very tasty, I think, in real life when we see it. I don't know how if I can describe it as awkward, because I feel like Vettel and Leclerc had a pretty decent relationship, apparently, as they say so, as he's left. But I think there was a tinge of tension maybe in the air with them towards the end of the season. But here we are then, trying the switchback move on Leclerc, getting up close and personal with the Ferrari car, on the only car yet to be announced, obviously, and we don't know what the 2021 livery is. So for now, the Ferrari's rocking the old 2020 livery, but a bit of snap of O's there. But we managed to overtake Leclerc, and to be honest, you would imagine, you know, if Vettel and Leclerc were to meet on track in 2021, depending on how the Ferrari obviously progresses, you would imagine the Aston Martin and Vettel could actually, you know, go and overtake him and race him well, because the Aston Martin, then the Racing Point car last year was so much better than the Ferrari. Obviously, we don't know how much the Ferrari is going to improve. I guess we'll find out later this week in pre-season testing, even though, you know, those times may not mean too much, so we'll only get a proper look until we come back to Bahrain then for round number 1. But we're now on the back of the man who has replaced us at Ferrari, Carlos Sainz here, unable to make a move on Sergio Perez. Like I said, I think these two Ferraris got very much helped by the starting grid being a bit random. Because I didn't do qualifying, we just jumped into a random starting grid. So I feel like on pure pace with the mod, I think the Ferrari cars will be dropping back a little bit. But right now, just trying to size up Sainz really as we go up the hill. Bit more downforce maybe with this Aston Martin and power for sure as we go up the hill. Very close stuff there with the tyres nearly banging, and we have to lift off a little bit just to give Sainz the respect there as we go up the hill, but we're able to finally get it then through the next right hand of the second last corner in towards the last, now up into P5, and now looking to try and chase after Sergio Perez. And we cut on to now 1 lap later. This is at the very same point in the circuit then that we left it, and now we've got a good run on Perez. Obviously the Red Bull car, not too much change apart from that massive Honda logo, obviously, as they've lost Aston Martin as it became a full-fledged works team here. As we now go through on the right hand side, pit stop window has opened up, and we have overtaken Perez. Easy does into turn 1. He has a little look, but we're able to squeeze him out, and we're up into P4 now. I must say, the added caveat is, unfortunately, the thing with this 2021 mod, and you're going to see any future videos with any 2021 mods, is the thing that, obviously, what you can't change with the mod is really how the individual AI perform. And so you've got to think of it like, you know, Sergio Perez in this mod, the AI is technically still Albon's mod AI, so he's going to be still having that deficit between Verstappen. It's something that it's a bit frustrating. You could kind of change those things in earlier games, but as we've gone on through the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years really of F1 games, it's very hard to change any of that. Of course, what we're doing is, you know, we're trying our best to kind of mimic what is effectively the upcoming season on the previous game, so there's always going to be a little few foibles. But lap number 8 then, Sainz was catching us. He was actually right up our chuff, and I was a bit worried about the pace he had on the outlap, but he's actually got an issue, and it looks like he's going to be retiring from this Grand Prix. So Sainz facing the classic Ferrari. Bad luck already for us here in this pre-season race, and Perez is now on the back of us. Actually, he's got DRS, we do not, so the power of DRS helping that Red Bull get past us despite the power difference, but he's passed us, and the safety car is actually called out. You may have seen it actually on that camera shot nicely. The safety car literally was coming out on the left-hand side as Stroll was coming out. We nearly hit the back of Perez under the safety car because he just parks it at turn 1. But really unfortunate, literally the split second Perez got past me, the safety car actually got called out properly with double yellow. So we now have to sit behind him on the restart. But pretty decent showing so far for Aston Martin. You'd imagine this is kind of where they want to be in real life. P5 and 6, maybe looking at the top 4 maybe. And as I've mentioned in the kind of videos when we talked about the actual car when it got launched, you know, it's more about they need to become way more consistent because they were there or thereabouts last season, but it's really more about consistently being there. As I into turn 1, I have a little look at Perez, but Perez now has done the inside of Verstappen, and Stroll's done the same to me. So the two kind of secondary drivers here in this situation have dive bombed the kind of men in focus here as Stroll gets me. Perez couldn't quite get Verstappen, but here we are then fighting Stroll. I don't know what was that about. I just had no pace on the exit of turn 1 compared to Stroll there, but we're going to just hang that through and maintain the P5. But that did catch me by surprise, I must say. I think I was looking more at, I was focused way too much on Perez dive-bombing Verstappen that Stroll just caught me napping basically in turn 1. But it's no bother. Onto the second last lap now, trying to get Perez because that may be the maximum we can hope for today, because it looks like Verstappen is already pulling away and trying to pile on the pressure on Bottas. Meanwhile, Hamilton is up in the lead. Bottas was actually leading, but the safety car helped Hamilton out, typical, and Hamilton is now in the lead of this Bahrain GP pre-season race. As we now have a little look at Perez, couldn't quite make it work into that right-hander, but on the exit though, get a tighter exit actually, and a bit of a switchback effectively from left to right, and now we're able to go side by side, give him the room as we go down the hill, a bit of a wider line, and oh, it's so close between us two here, and I would have said there would have been tension between Vettel and Perez, because of obviously Vettel taking Perez's seat, but obviously once it was found out that Perez was in a Red Bull car, I think all that tension kind of melted away. You saw some photos of Perez and Vettel actually swapping helmets from last year because they actually seemed to be pretty friendly with each other. So I think it's more of just a case of mutual respect, really. I think going into this season, Vettel and Perez, you know, they're both pretty happy with where they are now. Perez gets a top drive in a Red Bull car, and Vettel gets away from that very toxic Ferrari environment into maybe a fresh one, and Aston Martin. But I digress. Anyway, moving back to the racing action, we're up into P4 then on the second last lap. We move on to the last lap. Nothing to report there, and Lewis Hamilton will come through once again to win a race here with this 2021 mod. Bottas second place, Verstappen third, but we come home in P4, and Stroll actually overtook Perez actually at the end there. So that's a very decent showing for Aston Martin. They'll be very over the moon, I think, with a result like that, with P4 and 5 there ahead of one of the Red Bull cars. But Hamilton wins the Bahrain Grand Prix. But that has been a 2021 mod gameplay little race, pre-season race, as I likened it to, at Bahrain with Sebastian Vettel. And as I said, guys, as the mod gets updated, as the various mods get updated, we can kind of make the best version of the mod. We'll continue to make some videos and also some career mode content maybe with the mod. A little bit of inside info for maybe some future videos coming out for those of you that stuck around all the way to the end. But if you did enjoy the video, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly full-on content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.